Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 7 of the UFL season. We got 4 weeks left to play in this. A lot of teams fighting for their playoff spots. Most of these teams have found their identity for both this season and for the beginning of next season by this point. So, a lot of minor changes are being made throughout these rankings due to these tight matchups and maybe even some of these unexpected matchups, at least in the style that they're being played in. If you're new, again, subscribe, it's really appreciated. Leave a like and comment down below your thoughts. Now, let's get right into these rankings. Number 8 is the San Antonio Brahmas. And this is now back-to-back weeks with things just getting even worse and worse for the Brahmas. This might be the worst single-season fall-off we have seen in professional sports for a long while. A team that was in the championship last year is now scraping the bottom of the barrel looking for something. It's been over 2 games without a touchdown for them. The opening drive lasted 7 plays and then stalled out in the red zone, which then resulted in a missed field goal. And then no other drive lasted longer than 5 plays. Over 10 on third downs, had 8 3-and-outs on 12 drives. And yes, I know Birmingham does have a really great defense. I talk about it every week during the live streams. But this is still a kind of showing that's been consistent all year, no matter who the matchup is for the Brahmas. Kevin Hogan got the start in this one, and I cannot put this full blame on him. He played an okay game in this one, but the ground game only averaged 2 yards per carry on 13 carries, and that did not help anything. Anthony McFarland also went down in this one, which also does not help things, with the status currently being unknown for him. The defense played solid in the first half, and it's kind of one of those cases where the defense tried all they could, but eventually they just got too tired. They had 3 sacks in this game, forced a turnover. But man, this is a very, very sad season for the defending XFL Conference champion. Number 7 is the Memphis Showboats. And that wasn't a bad showing for Memphis, all things considered. They played a surging Houston team close and had the lead entering the half, plus had multiple chances in the fourth quarter to retake the lead. Just a win built off of a solid showing in the week prior with another solid showing in this one. 65% completion, 207 yards, and a touchdown. Wes Hills was signed in between weeks and made a solid impact in this game as well. He had a bulk of the carries with 13 carries and had 47 yards on the day. The defense played well in the middle stages with forcing 4 straight punts, with 2 to end the second quarter and 2 to begin the third quarter. Plus, they gave the offense multiple chances late in a one-score game to try and retake the lead, but they just couldn't finish those drives off. Memphis has something in just to win behind center, though, and it's definitely something that they can build off of for next year, and hell, they can even still steal a win or 2 in the remaining schedule. It's going to be an interesting final 4 weeks for Memphis, as again, their focus is getting towards next season at this point, but they actually have a solid foundation at this point of the season compared to what they had at this point last year. So the Showboats come in at number 7. Number 6 is the Houston Roughnecks. I was tempted to move them up after winning 3 of the last 4, but for as well as they have been playing, they have not been playing really a tough schedule the last 4 weeks. They beat Memphis twice and San Antonio in the last 4 weeks. They're kind of expected to do that with how well they have been playing. And don't get me wrong, winning 3 out of 4 is a really impressive stretch for this Houston team. But again, it's the bottom 2 teams in the league that have been beaten. Dylan McClellan has continued to play well for them, however, in that stretch. 150 yards and 1 touchdown performance in this one to get the win. Jaquandre White was a solid back in this game, hitting the 50-yard mark on 13 carries. Defense played well with them having a scoop and score, which gave them the lead, which they never looked back from. They played smart with the football, not turning the ball over, and now they currently sit a game back of both Michigan and Birmingham for first place in the USFL Conference with 4 weeks to play, including 3 of those matchups being against those 2 teams. When I say this is a really tough stretch of the schedule coming up, I mean it. This is going to define Houston's season. If they exit these final 4 weeks 2-2, that is a really solid end to the season, and you have to be feeling good about Houston entering next year. But I'm just not too high on them because of who they have played these final 4 weeks. So we'll see how they do in these next 4 weeks. Number 5 is the Arlington Renegades. After some really good weeks from the offense, they get a bit of a reality check against St. Louis. An opening drive that stalled out due to a penalty and a missed field goal was really the only scoring chance in the first half. They would fumble on the ensuing drive and then have 3 straight 3-and-outs to end the first half. Turnovers was a big issue in this game for Arlington as well. They lost a turnover battle 4-1, and you're not going to win a game with having 4 turnovers. Perez didn't throw the ball as well as he has in previous weeks either. 145 yards and a pick on 70% completion. Again, isn't great, isn't bad, just a weird middle ground for Luis Perez. They were without Kalen Ballage from some of the second half, as the ground game was still solid for Arlington. The defense did their job. They sacked Duggan 5 times and held a really good Battlehawks team to 12 points. But the offense just couldn't capitalize, and with back-to-back drives with a chance to tie the game, they would fumble on both of them. They have lost their last two now and find themselves on the outside looking in for the XFL Conference Championship game. And what was really been, again, a kind of a reality check the past 2 weeks, losing to both DC and St. Louis in two very different ways. The final stretch for the season is going to be a good one for Arlington. We'll see how they handle it, but for now, they come in at number 5. Number 4 is the Birmingham Stallions, and yes, they ended up dominating that game, and it was a good win for the Stallions and a good bounce back win. But still, while watching that game, you can tell that they were dominating that one, not because they were playing that much better than San Antonio, but because the Brahmas are that bad of a team this season. Going with a 2QB system, the Stallions saw both Case Cookus and Andrew Peasley play fine enough, but they were really surging in the second half once again. Plus, both did get banged up during this game, so a team that was already on its 3rd/4th string quarterback might be forced to play a 5th somewhere down the line. The ground game was solid with Ricky Person having 32 yards and a touchdown on 9 carries. The defense played really well, locking down San Antonio, forcing 8 3-and-outs, and they even caught an arm bunt. They played lockdown against the ground as well. They got a nice bounce back win, but this is still a very vulnerable team and definitely the weakest Birmingham has looked in a long while. They have some really tough matchups down the stretch on their schedule, so we shall see how it plays out. For now, they sneak into the top half of the league on my rankings at number 4. Number 3 is the St. Louis Battlehawks. It wasn't the prettiest of showings, but a win is a win, and this one still saw the Battlehawks play their style of a grinded out type of game. Duggan wasn't the most accurate, he threw for less than 100 yards, but he did get the score and started with a deep shot to Akeem Butler in his only reception of the game. This makes Akeem Butler have 3 catches for 3 touchdowns on the season, which is a Randy Moss-esque stat line for a Randy Moss-esque player. Not saying he's up to that level, but he's definitely that type of guy for the Battlehawks. The ground game continues to be great, with St. Louis having both Jacob Sailors and Max Duggan in that 50-yard range on the day, and a team total of 113 yards. The defense won this game for sure for St. Louis. They forced 4 turnovers in this one, including 3 fumbles, and it was a great Renegades team entering this week. They exit this week only putting up 6 points. They have a style that they like to play, and they don't apologize for it because they continue to win games through that style and on their own terms. They sit tied for first place in the XFL conference right now, and they're looking really, really good down this final stretch. They come in at number 3. Number 2 is the DC Defenders. I was hoping this was going to be a closer game, but DC just didn't match up well with what the Panthers wanted to do in this one. Tamu still played well, having just over 50% completion for about 260 yards and 2 touchdowns. The ground game was solid with a team total of 75 yards on 20 carries, and Chris Rowland was a great receiving option, 144 yards on 9 catches plus a deep touchdown that ended up being the last score for the Defenders. The biggest issue was their defense and the lack of ability to contain Bryce Perkins. He was consistently avoiding sacks and breaking tackles and just all around having one hell of a game. The defense as a whole was a massive liability against the ground in this one, which was uncharacteristic for the Defenders. Their front 7 is one of the better ones in the league, but in this game, they got pushed around by Michigan's offensive line to the tune of over 200 yards of rushing for the Panthers. They also forced no turnovers and only forced 2 punts on the day, and it just wasn't a good defensive showing. I won't put this kind of loss too much on them because Michigan is just that kind of team this year, but it was still an ugly day to be a DC fan, and it's an ugly way to get back to being tied for first place in the XFL conference. Number 1 is the Michigan Panthers. That was a statement of a win for the Panthers, not just because it was against a top-tier team in the league, but because they dominated in that win. Bryce Perkins may have just solidified himself as the league MVP with another great showing, as he continues to make some incredible plays as well. 72% completion, 188 yards passing, 76 yards on the ground, and 3 total touchdowns. The ground game as a whole was fantastic. Toa Taua had another great game with 94 yards and a touchdown on 19 carries. And Nate McCrary got in on the action with 44 yards and a touchdown on 9 carries. The defense also played some great lockdown defense, only giving up 2 touchdowns on 9 drives. And the other 7 drives were 5 punts and 2 turnover on downs. And just all around, Michigan is playing really, really well this year. They look to continue this showing all the way through to the championship game, it feels, as they are by and away the best team in the USFL conference, it seems. And obviously with this win against DC, maybe the best team in the entire UFL. I at least think so. That's why they sit on top of the power rankings once again at the number 1 spot. Okay, so there you have it. Quick little rundown. The Brahmas are at 8, Showboats at 7, Roughnecks at 6, Renegades at 5, Stallions at 4, Battlehawks at 3, Defenders at 2, and the Panthers reclaim the top spot at number 1. Thank you all for tuning in. And like I said at the top of this, subscribe if you're new. It's greatly appreciated. And leave a like. And I'll see you all next time. Have yourselves a damn good one.